want something, and so my
Yeah.
head is still trying to just like get out of that
Yeah.
crazy day.
I went, yeah, I went into my office today for the first time since May.
Oh,
It's like you never know what you're gonna find.
Weird,
Like,
yeah.
is like, did the air conditioner explode? Did whatever, you know, so it was a bit of a mess. Yeah. How have your first few weeks been?
Good.
Yeah.
Fun, interesting.
Good.
Yeah. And Yeah.
For that, so I think they kind of got used to not having someone in that role, so now it's like, wait, what should we be doing?
yeah, well, and my understanding is there hasn't been ever planners, yes.
But no,
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that adds another component of complexity.
Yeah. Where did you move here from?
I actually live down in Westport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so not far. Yeah.
No, and I was commuting to Ticonderoga, so I just.
Yeah, you just went the other way.
Want to get started?
Sure.
So. Looks like a relatively light agenda tonight. Are we linked in live? The first item on the agenda, 70 Court Street. You want to just run through this?
Sure. And I apologize. I was out last week, so I didn't realize the packets didn't make it out. But did you guys all get a chance to see the materials online at least?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. So for 70 Court Street, it's a historic site review. They are proposing to add a freestanding sign. It is a former business location. They're proposing to add a business sign and a fence, which would be a continuation of the neighboring fence. So it will look exactly like the fence neighboring next door. It's a fairly straightforward historic site review. In the staff report, we did put the past applications that were comparable. So we have reviewed this same property was for you guys back in 2020. You'll see when we do the live meeting at 6 o'clock, there's an old image showing that there is an accessory structure that was demolished back in 2020 and approved by the planning board. As for other similar requests at other properties, the last requests on file that we could find that were similar to this was a building sign at 57 Court Street. That was the Schneider law office building that was approved. It was an on-site building sign. You can come on in. It was a sign on the building, not a freestanding sign, but it was the most similar request you could find. That request was approved without conditions. The other request that was similar for a fence, there were three fences that were recently reviewed by the planning board. It was the Inslee fence at the property next door to this one back in 2019. That was approved. It was pressure treated, unstained, unpainted fence. It was approved without conditions. And then two fences were approved for 128 Court Street and 96 Court Street at the same time. Those ones were pressure treated screw fences, and those were also approved without conditions. So the planning board does have a history of approving similar requests. Again, we have not received a SHPO response on this one yet. Yeah, so we don't have a SHPO response for this one. Other than that, there's not really any other staff comments.
So can we approve it without a SHPO response?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the SHPO responses are just advisory.
Okay.
Did we see this property recently at the demolition of the garage?
Yes, yeah, that was the accessory structure demolition back in 2020 that was approved by the planning board. It was paved over, I believe, and turned into just an outdoor parking area. So that's it for that application. I don't know if the board has any questions or concerns that they might want to ask the applicant when it's time to present at the live meeting or the regular meeting, excuse me. So Jim, we just did a brief staff overview of what the 70 Court Street application is.
I didn't have any questions. I apologize of late, but I didn't have any questions for that application.
Rick, do you want to continue or do you want to pass it to Jim?
Looks like Jim gets settled and Jim, take it away.
And so, yes, next application was 126 quarter 17 lots.
Yes, so this one is a property that it's a corner lot. It has two properties on the parcel. So even though Wells Street is technically not part of the Court Street Historic District, the 17 Wells Street property is included as a registered historic property because it's on the same parcel as the other property. This one, it is owned by DHSN and they are proposing a series of modifications. It's mostly just maintenance work. It's going to be replacing and repairing some cedar shingles, painting over them to match the existing color. There would be some in-kind vinyl replacements to the windows, but according to their application, it's an in-kind replacement. It's already vinyl windows on the property. And to add an accessible ramp on the property as well. For that one, we have received typical comments. We actually just received those today. I have them in the PowerPoint presentation. I'm sorry, I don't have them in the packets because we just received those today. But there were a couple of comments from SHPO. I think their main comment was the interior modifications, which is not reviewed by this board, should try to match existing conditions. The other comment was about the basement windows and that it should have the same opening detailing as the existing windows in the basement.
Do we know what the basement is used for?
I do not know what it's used for. Sorry, for similar past applications for this one, the most recent application for an accessible ramp, so this one's, got different parts to it. It's an in-kind replacement of cedar shingles. There's no real concerns there. The board has a history of approving in-kind replacements of, especially with the existing material, the existing historic material. For the vinyl windows, the board does have a history of approving vinyl windows when they're already placed on the property. So for precedent, the board does have a precedent of approving those. And as for the ramp, the most recent approval was for the Schneller property on Boynton Avenue. That one was never deemed necessary. It was only, that one was conditioned only if the building inspector determined that it was necessary to have a ramp, but the ramp would architecturally match the building. That one was determined not to need the ramp, so no ramp was ever actually installed there. So we do have obviously a history of approving ramps to make them ADA compliant and accessible where needed. There is some guidance that is in the very back, I'm sorry, somewhere midway through your packet. I did include this 2-page sheet from one of the preservation briefs put out by the National Park Service. At the bottom of that section and onto the next page, it has some guidance regarding incorporating ramps to make historic properties accessible. If anybody wants to review that really quickly. They are proposing, to the best of my knowledge and based on their application, they are proposing synthetic materials for that ramp. From a historic preservation standard, it's allowable technically, any kind of addition to a building would need to be differentiated, but sympathetic to the historic character of the original structure. So it should be differentiated from the old. It does not have to match exactly. It does not have to have the same materials, but it should be sympathetic to it and not look vastly different, if that makes sense. And I have in the PowerPoint, when we get to the regular meeting, I can go through that. I've got a visual showing what those materials and things selected will look like.
Do we know what the intended use is?
I do not know the intended use. It's 2 properties on 1 parcel. I believe one of them might be some form of residence. The other one, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the application says like assisted living facility and a conversion of an office to a living. One of them is the conversion of an office to a unit. That's.
Do you guys have any questions for me on that application?
I have some questions for the applicant when we get to that point, just on the guardrail replacement. I've noticed, I read in the CRIS, the historic, that one of the notable features is that railing kind of square balusters and square, or I don't know what the verbiage was, but in terms of the replacement, just curious whether that is going to be replaced to look just like that, or whether there will be necessary posts, at certain intervals, or what the new fence or new guardrail materials, if they'll match that, or if they'll.
They do have those selections, and I
Yeah.
can pull them up in the PowerPoint when we get to that.
Yeah, I saw those highlighted. It's more about how it's installed.
Okay.
Like, can the new one span like 12 feet or 15 feet or whatever that is, or is it gonna are they gonna have to add posts and just kind of cross-referencing that ability of what they've selected to match?
Shalice, I was just looking at this letter, AES, and one of the bullet points was current and proposed use of site residential care facility.
Thank you.
Given that's a plan, are there any special considerations that we've got to think about as a board? As
In
it
terms
relates to egress or anything like that?
In terms of historic site review, I'm not sure. So if it was a site plan, I'd say maybe, being historic site review, it's certainly welcome to ask them if there's any necessary modifications to the building for that purpose that may alter the exterior, and then that would be a historic site review consideration. That would be a question for the applicant.
But this is not a change in use of any for 126 court. I mean, I think it's a residential care facility and kind of co-living situation now. It sounds like it remains that.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's a change.
Oh, I don't.
The bullet before said, developed with 2 residential structures. And it's going from that, who's creating what's written, the residential care. By you, it's.
Oh, so maybe they're like enhancing the use of this building or something. Okay, that'd be worth asking. Yeah.
Yeah, the previous use was a group residential
Yeah.
home, which in group homes such as this, they have all the characteristics of family. And a number of homes were utilized as residential family homes because they had a supervisor on site or executive parent. So it functioned in that capacity, people weren't blood related.
Yeah.
Group home did family and family.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the building department referred this to us and they made a determination this is the only other approval required, no other approval for this improvement, zoning.
I have not received any comment from the building inspector's office. The application was dropped off by the applicant directly and coordinated by them directly, so I don't know if they had communication with the building inspector's office prior to that. But it was referred for departmental comments, and we received no comment from we received no response from the building inspector's office.
So when you say a change in use, it's not really a change in use, it's still a residential that's.
Yeah.
being
Yeah, I don't-
Used as a residential.
Yeah.
albeit a different, under a different term.
It's not requiring a variance,
Yeah,
it's
that's-
requiring a rezone.
Correct.
Right. Right.
That's what I'm understanding.
Me as, well, yes.
I guess wondering about care.
Uh,
That raises the question. Well, egress. You guys. But that one word is.
Resident.
And then I can tell you, I'm the one that made that determination of that original change of use.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
The group home, I was the one that made that determination when originally this property was used. So that's, as with Reg, I have the same line of question. What does the terminology of residential care actually mean? Because it may very well still qualify as a group home, with all the same characteristics of supervision.
Given there's two bullets, I feel confident that this third
Yeah.
are different. I think we should understand.
Elise, do you have an actual copy of the letters from Chippewa?
I did not bring it
You did not bring it. I mean, you made reference in your PowerPoint.
in the PowerPoint. Yes, I have the exact comments.
So when they made comments about the basement windows matching existing character.
The existing, like, if you push it out, it pushes the same distance, and detailing. I can pull that up. All right, we just received it late this afternoon.
I just realized I'm not clear on whether door number 101 is a new door.
I suspect it is.
So that was a window. So they're converting a window into a door,
Yes.
because this is the primary entrance over here, so they're they're changing a window to a door. I didn't catch that before. Mhm.
And that door leads to the ramp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, infilling and exiting exterior door to the building fronting Bird Street to create an 88 compliant ramp.
Mhm. Mhm. Hello. Mhm.
Which one? Yeah.
Well, I guess at least going back to that initial letter. The basement windows would be replaced in kind. Is basically the intent or what the ship was asking for. We don't always see comments about interior. Renovations, but in looking at our ordinance, it clearly talks about the structure. It doesn't say exterior or interior, it just says maintenance of the structure, so. I guess in this case, you know, we don't always see a lot of properties that are proposing significant interior renovation. I guess we leave that to the board for discussion.
If we want to wade into that.
Or, yeah, once again, Schiphol offered it as a comment.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
once again, most of the applications we see are for exterior renovation. Maintenance. This is a little bit different from looking at our ordinance. All interior or exterior.
I'm gonna leave interpretation of the dean who's not here. I can say what I've been advised in the past from the building inspector's office is it's exterior. But if you're seeing that in the code, that would be a dean question. I apologize.
Was there any other questions in regards to the application due or discussion?
I don't think I need questions for the applicant, maybe. But
Mhm.
Guess we do have 5 minutes. I don't know, staff, that's other business that we'll have to discuss.
The only other business I really have is to introduce Valda to Alicia Bartlett, our new senior planner. So Alicia, we meet everyone. I don't know if you guys want to introduce yourselves or. Yeah, we look forward to having her and she's gonna bring a great wealth of knowledge and experience to us. So we're grateful to have her.
yeah, very exciting.
Will you plan to regularly attend the planning board meeting?
We're gonna coordinate that and address it as a team effort, depending on the workload.
Yeah.
So I will be regularly assisting to prepare all of the meeting materials and try to be here as often as possible.
Well, I guess we do have a few minutes of anybody needs to take a break or. of the regular meeting.
You want to start it? I mean, we have all the applicants here. We can start.
Are we still under the full Zoom criteria?
I don't think we're allowed to have Zoom attendance anymore.
Okay.
Let's Zoom.
Attendance anymore, not under the state open meetings law. I think that is done.
So then it's good to clarify for the board as well. So is that a Zoom attendance just for us, or are we doing Zoom attendance for public like we have before? And you know,
As far as I'm aware of the meetings law, it's silent on that. So I think it might be a board choice. And in past, the board has expressed that they want to leave that option open. So we have left that open. It's still advertised in our agenda.
it is.
It is, well, the Zoom link has been advertised on the agenda for anybody that's joining it remotely. So there's an option there. We can certainly discuss it. And verify with Dean whether or not we're allowed to offer it as an option, but as far as I'm aware, on the multiple trainings I've had on the meetings law, it's silent on whether or not that's allowed.
So does the board have to make a decision on like for public hearings? Are we opening up to Zoom for public comment? Is that a requirement? Is it not?
It's not a requirement, no. Again, open meetings law is silent on it, so there's no guidance on whether you should allow it, could allow it, can allow it, have to.
Didn't we write about this in our bylaws?
We did write about it in the bylaws.
Okay.
I want to say, but I don't remember the exact percentage. I'm sorry.
Remember that?
I remember writing.
But the common council passed a law on it after the bylaws.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to,
Don't recall the language of that either.
and that's what I'm trying to wrap up here is the common council did give a new local law
Yes,
that was adopted within the past month, correct?
within the past 2 weeks.
Past 2 months. That I don't know if that,
That allows us to continue using Zoom or prohibits us?
It gave guidance under which circumstances Zoom will be allowed to be used.
which I think supports, like you just said, on a local level, supports state law.
Yes,
Or what the state did, basically,
yes.
but it's mute on,
Video conferencing has always been allowed under state law.
Yeah.
For board members, but it's silent in the public participation component of that.
okay. So maybe for tonight, we'll continue like we have. And then in the meantime, we can get Dean's guidance on. You know, if we continue this procedure, obviously, we need to continue with the
Yeah.
Zoom capability.
And as you guys are aware, we have not had any public comments on the Zoom since
Ever.
certainly since you started.
20 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, in quite some time.
No, I guess one last question. We did, prior to COVID, the city did only have the YouTube component of taping their meetings, but it did not have the Zoom component. Is that correct?
Right.
And does the city plan on retaining the Zoom component of the meetings?
You mean, what do you mean by that?
Like the Zoom where they can actually, you know, people can be noticed in the meeting, make comment if they choose. I don't know if they can do that with what was prior, you know.
Oh, in our former system, we wouldn't, but we are keeping the Zoom software because it
That's-
works far better than the old software we had before we used to. So we will continue to use Zoom as the platform for our streaming. As for whether we're using it to engage the public, I'm, again, open meetings law is silent.
The new local law is silent about public comment and public participation by Zoom. It's only pertaining to whether or not we can attend.
I can say that the common council does not have public comment via Zoom,
That's not.
does not.
It's interesting.
Okay.
It's 6:01.
Okay, well, we are now at 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order for the planning board, Monday, August 22nd, 2022. If I can have everyone rise for pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get a. Are we?
We're good.
We're good. If I can get a roll call, please.
Tim McDowell,
Yes.
Rick Perry,
Yes.
Red Carter,
Yes.
Kurt Gervich,
Yes.
Abby Musinger,
Yes,
Tom Cosgrove, excuse.
Thank you. We'll move right into our regular monthly agenda. Item number 1, which is planning board application 22-13, 70 Court Street historic site review.
Okay, so this is 70 Court Street. It is located within the Court Street Historic District. The zoning is RH. The applicant is, the applicant is Amy Provost. And the property owner is also Amy Provost. However, I believe it's under an LLC name. Is that correct? Yes. Thank you. Here we have a map showing that it is located here in the Court Street Historic District. That is the bright yellow section. And the more pale yellow shows that it is located within the RH zoning district. This is a photo showing the frontage of the property. This property was back before the board back in 2020. That rear structure in the back that can be seen that appears, appears to be a garage or accessory structure was before the board in 2020 to be demolished and was approved without conditions. Right here, we see in front of the building, the sign, the empty signpost. This is the location where the applicant is proposing to place a freestanding business sign. The applicant is also proposing to place a fence in the back that will be a continuation of the neighboring fence. Here we have a zoomed in photo of that empty signpost. The signpost is existing. It has previously had a sign there. This is the proposed sign. There might be some minor changes to the content of the sign, but generally this is what it would look like. And here we have, this is the front of the property, and this is where the proposed fence is intended to go, this yellow line here, to separate it from the property in the rear. This is the parking behind the property, so it would be proposed to be a continuation of this fence to cross right here along the rear of the property. And the next picture is just another image showing from the corner of the property what that fence looks like. And we have not yet received a SHPO response from this on this application. As for past precedents, the board has reviewed in recent history, we have 3 fences reviewed in recent history, all of which were pressure treated, unstained, unpainted wood, and they were all approved without conditions. That was one of which was actually next door at 68 Court Street. As for the sign, the most recent application that's similar on file was the Schneider's sign on Court Street, approximately kitty corner to this property. And that was a building sign attached to the building. It was approved without conditions. And I believe that's all I have. So if you want to hand it over to the applicant, if you want to approach the podium, you can present any further information you have.
You can if you'd like. Or...
Sure. So I'll hand it to you, Jim.
Okay. So open to the board for questions, comments.
We're still recording to Zoom, right? Does it pick up if the applicant is sitting instead of at the podium? Should probably, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Any other, I guess, questions, comments? For the applicant.
I'm curious, is the sign wood?
I think it's going to be like a thin plastic.
Okay.
With the vinyl outside, whatever's going to fit in the slot, to be honest.
Okay.
I've reached out to a couple, different people to make the sign, but to be honest, I was waiting for approval before I got too far along in
Yeah.
the process.
So I do believe in terms of the sign, that is a little bit of a question for board past
Yeah.
reviews. I know, I don't remember the
The Schneider sign,
Schneider sign, but
it was vinyl,
was that,
Was
it was vinyl.
was it vinyl?
Yes.
Okay, because I do know there's other signs for garden specific.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was asking. Yeah.
Is this an increase in sign dimension?
No, it's actually going to fit in the slots that are currently there. So the measurements we used were actually what was slotted out for previous signs. No change to the exterior slots.
Okay.
Yes. The game plan is to just fit it in the existing location without any change to the posts.
Should also point out that any approval that the board grants does not exempt from the sign permit application or the building permits or other work.
Absolutely.
Actually, did you have a picture of the sign itself in the slideshow? So that's the general design, color.
Yes, that's the game plan. I don't believe I'm going to put the phone number in it because consistent down the street, no one else has their phone number. And honestly, I sent this before going back to definitely zone in on what it was going to be. So everybody else has somewhat of a logo, but no phone number. So I'd like to be consistent with the street.
Other comments or questions? If not, we do have a public hearing component of the project, so we'll move to open the public hearing. Anybody in the public have any comment? Is there anybody ever in
There are no participants on the Zoom.
without further comment, move to close the public hearing? And we'll move to the seeker review. We do have a short form seeker attached with the application. Elise, if you can run down the part 2 questions.
So for those that are in attendance, I will read each question. If the board believes no or small impact may occur, they will remain silent and I will check that box. Otherwise, we will speak up and there will be further discussion if they believe a moderate to large impact may occur. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that caused the establishment of a critical environmental area? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies? Will the proposed action impact existing public or private wastewater treatment utilities? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, for example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater,